This is Off Track.
So what, you packed the mic, but not the rest of the fucking stand, Tim?
Yeah, the mic is way smaller, and I was pretty sure I had one of those elbow things here. I don't.
I'm pretty sure I have all those at my house. So
Seems like the right shaped and size object you'd be used to holding.
that is being we're not going there. We're not going there. We're not having this conversation. Guys, hello and welcome to Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. It's a Tuesday show.
Connor's very uncomfortable already.
And we have a guest, and it's Conor Daly. And he's super uncomfortable. He does not know what he's got himself into.
I wonder if Conor listens to our episodes and knows how inappropriate we are most of the time.
I didn't know I was allowed to speak yet. I didn't know if it was like an introduction part. Like, I didn't want to like spoil it.
Yeah. You're here.
No, we respect that.
Yeah.
No,
but
cool.
that's not how we do it here.
You know, I've seen some clips. Yeah, I'm a clip guy. You know, I mean, I've definitely seen some stuff. And honestly, Alex, I'm proud of you for saying some of the things that you say. I really am. I think that that's important to make sure that
people hear the truth.
Some of those important things are actually mentioned, whether no matter what area of the body it has to do with, or the soul, the mind.
Yeah.
But guys, the moon landing was real. All right, I'm just gonna head that one off.
How
now,
do you land on
sure
a fake object, though? That's my
God
question.
damn it! I saw
that too.
I can't with you right now.
that's-
I don't have the energy right now.
Is it like
Can't do
those
it.
golf sims where you hit the projection of your ball, like into the?
Yeah, Conor, where do you stand on the moon landing?
Well, so you know, I can't necessarily agree that it's fake.
Very careful.
I don't understand. I feel like I know enough people that do stuff in space or have interacted with people in the space.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe that it's not a real thing. So I like that. I like that we were up there. I think that we were up there. I question why we haven't gone back, but yeah,
We're going.
I think we were
Don't
up
worry.
there.
We're going.
Money.
I just
I've watched
the
a lot of
Cold War ended.
documentaries, and
So-
I feel like all of them are real. So you know,
here's the
everything
thing,
on the
man.
internet's true as well. Obviously,
Everybody here, and this is where I think I can get Alex, is everybody here is good friends with the Foistles. And if
Yes.
you are telling me that you would sit there, look Drew Foistel in the eye and tell him that the moon landing was fake, God, I would pay to see it.
Again?
or Nick Carpenter, or him as well,
Or Nick Carpenter.
Yeah.
No, we all know it's a joke. It's a ha-ha. But
I thought you meant the moon landing.
no.
Oh, okay.
My questioning of it. But Conor mentioned something that I think is super true, and we should really get into. Everything on the internet is real. Conor Daly has a job in 2025 in the NTT IndyCar Series, which I don't know if you listened to the episode where we went and talked about Conor Daly having a job next year, but all three of us are super excited and happy and proud of you. And so, why don't you tell us about it? And did it come as a surprise, I think is the first question.
No, thank you. You guys, I saw the clip that you guys put out about that. It was very kind of you to say those words that you said. You know, who knows if they're true or not, but everything on the internet's real, so we're going to believe it for now. And I appreciate that. I mean, honestly, it's. I think there's always more to things than meets the eye, and I think right now it's very exciting to be a part of this team again. And but for me, I think it's very much a. I have to be on it as soon as the green flag falls in St. Pete and make sure that, you know, we retain that seat, because how often have we seen seats go away in recent years, which again, you know, Alex, you don't have to worry about things that.
You drive green, but not papaya. So like,
well, yes, but like, you know, I've seen it before. I've been a part of it. Right. I've been in multiple different ones. So, you know, in this modern era, well, like when I was a rookie, it was been like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm ready for this year, excited for this race, that race, whatever. But like now, it doesn't matter how secure I feel like you think you might be. But a person like myself who I do not have, you know, any Indy 500s yet. I do not have any race wins yet. So obviously there's a lot that I still would like to do. But despite having said all that, very excited, because this team has been super supportive of me, obviously getting the chance to do it last year. Hinch told me not to do it, But that was only because of details behind the
Wait, is that
scenes.
true, James? You told him not to do it.
James.
I told him not to do it
Me
under
friendly
certain
advice.
Everyone's like, oh, James is a super nice guy and Alex is the asshole. Meanwhile, James is out here trying to shut down people's careers.
No,
Dude.
James is actually the smartest person here, I think.
And Alex, you know why.
Yes, I'm
you
well
know what
aware.
I'm talking about. And you're 100%
I
on the
agree
same
completely.
page. We all have the same conversation.
Yes. Yeah, we look now. That was a fun poke because again, we can never fully reveal what goes on behind the scenes. But realistically, I took a little bit of a gamble on myself, and thankfully, the schedule last year it was helpful for me. A lot of tracks that I liked in Milwaukee, I did not even know, but it turned out I liked that one. And then it was a great ride with those guys, and we got them the $1 million. We got them the points they needed. We got to qualify up front. We got to race up front. It was truly an enjoyable, and it was a month. It was like literally a month of the year. All those races happened in such a back-to-back type scenario. So I think for sure, if I didn't do what I did, there's no way I would have been in this car. Absolutely not. So yeah, took a gamble on myself, and it paid off.
So, and this is what I love about this whole thing, man. And this is kind of what I was crapping. That is the world's largest water bottle. That's so aggressive.
Gallon a day keeps the doctor away.
You need to watch on YouTube, everybody that's listening just on their phones or whatever, to just get eyes on the absolute tank that he just drank out of. Anyway, the big thing that we were harping on about on the other show when we were talking about your announcement was just how like you're like the biggest hustler in the paddock. Like you've had to work so much harder than the average driver to keep getting these opportunities, and you never let it get you down. You never let it, like, you never give up. Like, this sport sucks. We've talked about that a lot on this show. It's the worst sport on earth, even though it's the best one at the same time. And lesser drivers would have like definitely gone home at some point with all the, you've had to deal with so much crap, man. And you keep putting yourselves in these positions to get these opportunities. So just credit to you for that. That's more of a statement than a question. The question kind of comes from, can you walk us through, I know this was not a straightforward deal, right? And there are reasons for that. I think some of them you can probably share with some amount of, detail, maybe not all of it, but this was not a straightforward program necessarily. But can you kind of just walk people through, as much as you're comfortable with, all the back and forth, all the kind of uncertainty that was surrounding this opportunity for the last however many months, other opportunities that maybe you had to pass up to keep your name in the ring for this, and just kind of walk us through from the first, let's say from the checkered flag in Nashville. You obviously did that stint with the team and you performed, you executed. From the checkered flag in Nashville to the announcement, what was that journey like for you, and how much of a roller coaster was it?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I was like at the end of last year, like starting there, I was pretty like content with doing the dryer deal. I thought it was a great, great option for the Indy 500. I knew my stock was really at the lowest it could possibly be, other than for the Indy 500, because of the situations that I was in, and so on and so forth. It's not easy to to kind of get around, some of the results that I've had with the, in the last couple of years. But
the stock took a bump though in the last quarter of last year.
Well,
Q4
yeah,
last year, Q3, I guess, but Q4
yes,
this season.
but I'm talking like even before that. So before the dryer deal, like, okay, I was actually not pushing to do a full season of IndyCar. I was like, I'm fine with doing this Indy 500 deal. It's a great deal. We have a chance to compete, which we did, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. But I kind of was tried to, and I hated it, but I was okay. I was like, you know what? Hey, if this is what I can do, I'm going to do the best job that I can do with the one race that I've got. And so we did. And then again, these substitute type situation, I show up to Iowa and sleep in Alex's bus because Dale called me on a Friday, and I'm like, well, I mean, I guess, but I'm not really, I got on Roger Penske's plane to get there because they were kind enough to lend this young man of myself a ride there. And then we randomly drove in a race, and the engine blew up, but like, I still end up getting a call to do something. And then, Ricardo calls me, and I was like, okay, you know what could go wrong? I mean, really, it can't get any worse in my life. So I'm going to just do this. And if it goes well, which I thought it could, because I know a lot of those people at the team. That was the Carlin team that I really enjoyed driving for. And that if if the BitNile thing happened 1 month earlier, I'm with Carlin instead of ECR for like 2 years. Like, it would have been a completely different life scenario. But we ended up there, and I think you guys realize that if you're in a situation that excites you again, and that really makes you enjoy doing what you're doing again, and you kind of get that fire that you both Alex still has, because he's there. Hinch, you know what I'm talking about, because you obviously do still some driving still, but that excitement to be competitive again, because we don't do this to just drive around in circles. Like, I truly don't enjoy that, and I don't think you guys do either. And so we are always trying to find the most competitive situation, and this was a competitive situation. We got in, we were up to the front, and a team believed in me. It was like, hey, we'll do whatever you want to do. Like, we're listening to you. This is a situation that we're going to work together. And I just hadn't felt that in a while. So it was something that as soon as Nashville was over, I was like, all right, well, how do we figure this out? Because this was sweet. And this like, racing was fun again. I enjoyed being a part of a team. It seemed like I was being supported. But they were like, well, so the budgets have gone up, and we're going to need at least like 10 million per car to do this thing. And I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to do that. Like, zero. I have not a clue. And I actually still don't know how that's going to happen. But I don't know. I could talk about it for a long time, but realistically, it was as soon as the season was over, we have been working. I have actually never in my entire life, and I've been doing this a long time now, I have never talked to more people about trying to be a supporter of this team and be a sponsor of this group in my life. It's every week. It's every day. It's at night. It's in the morning. It's people on the West Coast. You're almost asleep, 10:30 p.m. CEOs. You're trying to talk to people. It doesn't matter when it is. You just have to talk to people. And sadly, to be honest, IndyCar is a hard sell right now. It is. It's like, we all know that it's a hard sell when you're up against
that amount of money.
It's
almost impossible.
Yeah. So how do you put the pieces together, right? So I think we've managed to put a couple pieces in place, and I think Ricardo, with Stingray, that's a piece of the puzzle that helps the team both financially and financially, but also but that's good guy, good energy. I've already talked to Stingray. We got some good vibes going. I called him on the phone.
Clear the air.
Oh yeah. I completely cleared it.
A lot of people were pointing out you had some things to say about Stingray before you guys were teammates. So that's
Absolutely.
all that's in the past. That's all good now.
Well, I've just been honest. I think anyone else would. That's all. But yeah, Stingray as a human being couldn't be a nicer fella, and his family's been very nice. Everyone's been cool. And in the end, my job is to be a teammate and a driver, so it doesn't matter. I could have even been teammates with Santino. I would have accepted it, and I would have said, "Hey, we're going to try to be the best drivers we can be." I may not agree with a lot of things that come out of your mouth and that go on in your brain, but we could be teammates.
So, you talk about how you've been hammering the phone and trying to convince people and all this sort of thing, which I can only imagine, as James kind of alluded to, it's a huge amount of money now. Ever since these hybrids have come on, the costs have gone up exponentially for no real return, really.
Yeah, the value has not gone up at all,
exactly.
But the costs have gone up 40%.
Yeah. So what is your sales pitch? Like, what is your thing that you are using as your kind of lever to get these people either to make a decision or to at least consider making a decision?
Well, I mean, if I had an actual answer for that, I'd probably be making way more money than I am currently. You know what I mean?
Well, yes.
But I mean, honestly, and I've said this to some young drivers too.
I guess
you
my
have to
question
go
is,
with the emotional side.
Is it your story or is it the future of the IndyCar story? Is it
It's both.
Okay.
Yeah. You got to do both. Like, I'm for sure that there's an emotional part of it where I'm like, look, guys, this is the best opportunity I've potentially had in my entire career from a full-time standpoint, from a support standpoint. And I truly believe that IndyCar is on the up. I think that we have a lot to be excited about. But, not one of these deals have we gone and been like, hey, we need $9 million from you. Because that's just no, I don't think any teams have been able to sell a deal like that. But if you can find one and then maybe another one and then maybe a two and then these pieces here and there, that seems to be more doable. But it is so hard. And honestly, like I don't. There's so many people that are like, oh, congrats, you're in for the season. But like, we definitely need to continue to build on this thing, and we hope that there is the framework is in place to be there for the season for sure. And we're not, I'm contracted, we're not out of it. And obviously, at the beginning of this show, I mentioned that crazy stuff's happened, but if you find basically this happens, if you find more support, you guarantee your seat more heavy, right? If you find more support, there's less reason to be replaced. Right. If I showed up with $20 million tomorrow, it doesn't matter if I wrecked every single race and just laughed and drove all the way home, because they'd be like, well, this is great. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. There's guys that do that. Yeah. Yeah.
I love the honesty in what the situation is. Like, essentially what you're saying is, because it's the reality for a few drivers on the grid, if some F2 guy or girl decides, you know what, I don't do Europe anymore and I've got $5 million, they could come knock on the door, and like at that point, Ricardo's got a decision to make and Brad's got a decision to make, and like it's a tough decision to be in, right?
Yeah.
It's
the other math and science side to it though too is like, okay, let's be real. Stingray's been fighting to get in the leader circle, right? There's been that, and then they had both of their cars fighting to get in the leader circle last year. So now, if you're thinking, okay, if we follow the trend, maybe Stingray's still fight. I hope not. Maybe, hey, could be his year. But if you're fighting to then get another million, and then you take me out at some point, and then take the funding, and then you lose points, and then I have to be brought back in to then. What if you lose $2 million that you thought you had? And so, okay, if I'm short, it's all a math game, and it's kind of a weird situation, but that's kind of where we're at.
What happens sometimes in racing, right? Normally, because I'm assuming you have like you have no primary sponsors to announce at this point, right? You guys are still searching for it. And so
we have some, thinking, not yet.
Was the thinking a little bit, because I've been in this situation before, and I know it's like normally you get the funding in place, you sign the driver, and off you go. But a lot of times there's that chicken and egg situation of, well, the sponsor wants to know who the driver is. And the team's like, well, we can hire the driver once we have the sponsor. Like, we need the money to hire the driver to get the drivers, So was part of the strategy here, like, we don't have all the funding in place yet for the year, but let's announce Conor. He's a popular guy. He's been running really well. And this is going to help drum up more interest and potentially more sponsorship?
I mean, I'd like to think so. Like, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds of it, because like I don't want it to make it seem like we're not actually in there. Like we're there. Yeah. But I also don't want to stray into the if there's someone who's like considering maybe being involved, we don't want them to go away because they think everything is set. You know what I mean? So that's something that It's a weird one, and it's a tough one for me, because I like to focus on being a driver, like a race car driver, right? But I really have to focus on far more than that, and that's that's a challenge for sure.
So for you now, because in the off season, that's the focus, right? Is you're businessman in the off season. There's no car to drive, there's no testing happening. That's 100% of your job, right? That and training. Once the season starts, as you said, you're in the car, right? You're driving, and your job now is to get those results. Do you focus 100% of your attention to that, or are you still going to have to also be helping the team, knocking on doors and going through this, or can you just focus on being a driver once we get to St. Pete?
I mean, I think they would like to hear, like I have to be, at St. Pete, I have to show up, and it has to be the greatest race of my life. You know what I mean? Because then again, you have to give less reasons to be put out of the seat, right? So. And that's the easiest thing for me to do. Like, if I can do that, and if I can continue to prove myself and prove what I believe that I've always been able to do, then there's less questions, right? And it's much harder, and it becomes, it becomes less of a social media war and a terrible just vibes play for a type of situation. But I'm gonna do my best to just focus on being a driver for sure. But I think something that is most, I guess, helpful for myself is all of these sponsorship deals that I've done, I have been directly involved with, like directly.
Right.
So
and that's the thing.
There's
I know
never been
you've done
someone
the
else,
bulk of the work, right?
There's never like my manager helps out with all the details and the small
of
things,
course.
and we're going to activate it. But like, there's never been a deal where like I haven't been directly in the conversation. Right. Because I think people appreciate that direct connection, that emotional connection of like, hey, this is our guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that like to answer your earlier question, I think that is really the reason why I've been able to actually do any deals at all. So yeah, you got to have the emotional side.
So let's get away from the business side and the challenges of the off season, because we have limited time here. What you finally have like crossed the threshold, right? You've been for the 18 months, right? You've been trying to figure out what your path is and what your way in is, and you've been doing some truck races and some Xfinity races and nitro races and the 500 and all this sort of thing, right? Now you finally have that thing that you've been wanting. Like, what is your approach to it? Like, does your mindset change? Like, forget the sponsorship stuff. You as a race car driver, you've done it, right? Like, so now your motivation and your kind of desire has to be at an all-time high, because you're on that trajectory of having these small wins, right? And these successful stories, and you have people behind you and you have people that are believing in you. So like, how do you make 2025 your year as a race car driver?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think it starts with actually Alex Pillow letting me use his trainer. When I got fired, I lost my trainer.
Like his personal trainer.
His personal trainer, yeah. So like when I got fired, I lost the trainer in the divorce, all that stuff. Everything was gone. But I obviously wanted to stay ready for everything. And Alex was very defensive. He's like, I don't know if I want anyone else to use my guy, which fair, respectfully. But ever since I've actually been with Alex's trainer, I have felt more physically prepared than any IndyCar race I've ever done. And again, it's not that I wasn't prepared previously, because all I did was try to get ready. And maybe it's a different car, a different environment. Maybe that helps. But I think physically I've been way more prepared. So I'm actually excited to deploy that in St. Pete, which is a place that I have struggled physically before, because it's very hot, very difficult. And so, I think implementing the training, I think, is going to be super important for me personally. I'm actually excited and confident about that, which is good. And then obviously, the JHR team was strong at St. Pete last year with Grosjean. And so, they've got some good information. Obviously the hybrid is going to be new, and that changes a lot of things. And I'm sure that'll be really fun and slow and stuff like that. But I think there are things that I am. You
change trainers for the heavier steering.
Yeah, it's going to be really great. Yeah.
You guys have new, bigger steering wheels now, though. It's fine.
I can't use it.
Really light. Yeah, super cool.
I can't use those suckers. We'll talk about that on Thursday. Keep going.
But yes, so there's definitely some new elements for me that I'm excited to implement. There is for sure a level of confidence that I have now that is at a higher point that it's been in the past. But I'm also at a point where I feel like if I make any mistake at all, it's super easy to just be like, that guy sucks, because obviously that's what people have been saying the entire time that I've been around for the last 6-8 years.
Everything on the internet is true.
Well, everything on the internet is true. Right. Exactly.
You do in fact suck.
So like,
but you're also great, because that's out there too. So it's
fair. But that's also, that's at the back of your head for sure, because you have to be honest with yourself. It's like, well, I got to be perfect every single time. And like, the folks that have maybe some security, they can kind of go after a little bit more. But I kind of have to put all of that away, because like I have to go after it times 10 and do the best job that I can. So I think I'm in a position mentally and physically to be as good as I have ever been.
Do you like that pressure? Do you like some drivers really thrive when it's like you almost feel, I know you're not race to race, but you almost feel like you're race to race versus having a 3-year contract in your back pocket. Do you like kind of having that I don't want to say goal, because your goal is always to win, but that intense pressure of every time you're in the car, you feel like you got to perform 10-10s?
I mean, that's all I've had for so long. You know what I mean? Like I've done, I did this math. I've done a total of 3 seasons with one team. and I've done over 100 races. I've done 3 seasons where I've done all of the races with one operation. So like I've been all over the map, and every race could be crazy. You know, the stuff last year or 2 years ago with Meyer Shank was so much fun to do. But again, didn't feel like I got the most out of that because of, you know, these race strategy type scenarios. So you're like, well, shoot, if we just had the strategy go right, maybe that podium comes with Meyer Shank, and then it becomes a completely different situation. All these types of things. But I'm always under pressure like that. So I guess I've kind of got used to living with that. And it's fine. I don't mind it, because in the end, I'm going to go out there and do the best job that I can do. And and I feel like I've learned that if something happens, something happens.
Yeah.
And if not, well, then good for us.
So go ahead, Alex.
No, I was going to wrap it up, but if you had another question, James.
One final question before I let you go, bud.
Yeah.
You've been doing all these other things that Alex was talking about earlier. Do you have plans for any other racing this year? The people, your NASCAR fans want to know, your Nitro fans want to know. Are you wheeling anything else this year?
No, I don't think so. We are anything that unless it's handed to me without a requirement of budget, I'll do anything that someone wants me to do for free.
But every dollar's going to this program.
But
and full stop.
every type of support that we've got is, every race that we did in trucks and Xfinity last year, like that's all has to be paid for, right? Like we're not being handed these opportunities. So that was a Polka Dot deal that we had. That was some Power Plus sponsorship there. So, people still, I think, don't actually understand that like a driver like myself, or I mean, I don't know what it's like for even, some other folks, but like, I feel like even if Alex Rossi was like, hey, I'd like to go do a truck race, they're still going to ask him, well, like, hey, who's going to pay for this? You know what I mean? And Alex has way more credentials than I have, but at some point
the response is you are.
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's how it should be. Yeah, right. That's how it should be. But it's one of those things that, I kind of had to create some opportunities, but I would love to do Xfinity at the Speedway again. That was one thing that I had. I wish all of us could do that, because that was so much fun, and that was something that I would like to do again if that was for free.
Cool. Well, buddy, look, we're super proud of you. We're super happy for you.
Thanks.
We look forward to what you and JHR can get done on the track in 2025. And yeah, in the meantime, if you have a small to medium sized to large sized company and you're interested in going into car racing, we know a guy that is the best spokes guy. And Indy native, always at the Speedway, and slide into his DMs. That works.
Oh, there you go.
That worked for James.
Yeah.
For a period of time. Yeah.
For a very short period of time.
It could work. I'm excited. And also, if you feel like listening to a podcast, please listen to the Speed Street podcast.
Yeah, we're going to cut that.
Yeah, no. This is a great program. But if you want some more information on IndyCar as well, we're going to coagulate these shows. There's some coagulation of listenership.
By the X, you mean cut. Yeah.
No,
we're just going to have him say that, but we're going to voice over Off Track with Hinch and Rossi every time he says Speed Street.
Right. Nice.
Please support any IndyCar podcast that exists, because we need more people to know what IndyCar is.
Again.
And please watch on Fox, because we can't have an HRA keep beating us.
Please watch on Fox. And tell all your neighbors, hang some yard signs, do all the things.
There you go.
We'll see you soon, pal. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man.
This has been Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. Off Track is part of the SiriusXM Sports Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, please give a 5-star rating and leave a review. Subscribe today wherever you stream your podcasts. We are at Ask Off Track on Twitter and Instagram, and if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Hinchtown and at Alexander Rossi. If you want to follow Tim, though we have no idea why you would, he's at the Tim Durham on Twitter. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel for exclusive video content. Off Track is produced by Tim Durham, and by that we mean Tim.